Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.
Vignesh has created a genre of his own with this. Sudha and Vetri will agree with me. And we laughed and joked about it also that once Netflix puts out the thumbnail, the blurb or whatever, they'll all watch Vicky's film, Vignesh's film only first. After like some 100 viewings, only they'll all watch our films for sure.
His thumbnail is only going to bring people into this series. The theatrical release setup today has a protagonist. It should either be a 25 to 35, 40-year-old man or a 25 to 40-year-old woman. It does not let people have in terms of content, it is very restricted.
Hello everyone, welcome to Film Companion. Because I think Anu's been practicing a Tamil and she wants to conduct this entire interview in Tamil. Isn't that right, Anu?
Oh, nice.
You have no idea how intimidated I am. I'm basically just riding on Baradwaj's coattails here.
Okay, so all right, so let's get started with this anthology called Paava Kathaigal, which is Tales of Sin. Buzzes that it's based on honor killings, and we'll come to the subject later, but let's just first talk about the format, right? You're all feature filmmakers. How does a feature filmmaker react when Netflix comes to them and says, make a film in 30 minutes?
See, for me, more than the format, it's about making films with few other filmmakers. Doing films with few other filmmakers. We tried to do this in 2016, that didn't happen, and now we tried doing this. But as a format, this is challenging for all of us because it's the way it is structured, the way it has to move in, the way the characters are introduced, the way it has to end. Everything is a little different from a feature film, where feature films could be compared to a novella. This is a proper short story, and we have to treat it that way. If possible, we bring in the O. Henry factor into this shot, if possible. If not, at least try to hold for the final moment, like wait for it. And these things were challenging. And as Gautham mentioned in another interview, it's even including the shots have a different understanding. We need to interpret the shots also differently for this one from the feature. So that way it was challenging. But in terms of content, it was very liberating because these shots are not essentially meant for a theatrical viewing. The theatrical viewing did not interfere in us making the kind of or telling the kind of story that we wanted to tell.
Gautam, what do you mean by shots are different? I mean, did you have to rethink your whole visual vocabulary or something?
No. What I meant was, see, when you make a feature film, you're already thinking, like let's say a sort of a lengthy shot. You're thinking, will the theater hold this? Will the audience be affected by this, or should I cut it short and stuff like that? You're not actually filming something for the content mostly. But here you're filming exactly for the content that you want without worrying about, the mood in the theater and stuff like that is what I meant. I realized this when I made Queen itself, so it was very liberating work in that sense. That's what I meant. So, I said this again, I'm saying this again. I didn't really look at it as a short film or half an hour and stuff like that. Yeah. I said it as a joke, but I really mean it. I always felt my story sort of, go asunder in half an hour. After half an hour, so I really thought that this half an hour will really work for me. This format of saying something in half an hour really works for me. It's why I've done like 3 in the past, 3 months, so to speak. And we put in everything, the kind of work that goes into, obviously, because Netflix, because of the, the company that I'm in, filmmakers like Sudha, Vignesh and Vetri. It's a 2-hour film. If you look at it, it's not just half an hour. It's a 2-hour film. And in that, your half an hour should make a difference. It's like a relay, you're running a relay race and you don't want the third leg to be sort of, so you're putting yourself out there, what they're doing and you want to be somewhere in the same zone. So it was very interesting work in that sense, and I'm really happy to be a part of this actually right now.
You talked about it as a relay race, but the truth is that, the beauty of an anthology is one of the pleasures is the way the films and the distinctive voices play off each other. Right, because you see one and then you go to another. But when you're on a streaming platform, people could see these as independent short films. They could watch one, stop, go to the next.
Yeah.
Did that play in your mind at all? Did that impact how you told the stories that you're telling?
Frankly, to be very, very, very frank, I was shit scared. I was scared as hell to do a short after doing features. And what actually, I think if I had done this for any other medium except for a streaming platform like this, I would have been even more scared because you're looking at some kind of a response which is very commercial and all that. But here, I think I was just being honest to the genre that we chose, and we were just doing it for that. And forget it being a relay or anything, even as little individual capsules, I think each one of us has been very honest to what was given to us. And that, I think, is the beauty of this little anthology we've done.
So this one, when we started, it was supposed to play as
Like
a
a
whole film, like, film. It was supposed to be a film. Now it is as chapters. It is as chapters, and watching one after the other, we feel is better because every story is intense in its own way. Every film is going to be a strong, a film that has a very strong voice to itself. That way, we are happy that it is going to be watched one after the other in a where they have some space to watch it.
Yeah, but you're transported into that zone, even if you watch a Vignesh's film, under the genre, he's got his own quirky way of narrating his story. So, but it's still under that genre, so you're transported into that zone. So even if you pick up Vetri's film after, let's say, even like overnight, you will still be with the residue of Vetri's film, which is why, of Vignesh's film, which is why it is really important to still be in that space, is what I thought. And we, like you said, we've handled it in each of our own styles, I think. So and we've seen each other's films, so we're talking about it because we've seen each other's films also, I'm saying.
So are you saying that this is best seen in a particular order, like the order that's presented?
We don't know what order it's going to come out in right now.
Okay.
We don't know.
No, it's irrespective of the order, it will work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the topic, right? When you're talking about sin, let's say honor killings, did any of you feel that maybe this is a bit out of my comfort zone? Maybe I've got to do a bit of research and kind of localize it to the best extent possible? Or did you just say, I'm a fiction filmmaker, I'm just going to go and create my own fictional world?
So I think no filmmaker gets into a film that is of their comfort zone, unless you're very lazy. Because each world that we get into, it's a very vicarious pleasure of, going there, exploring it and mastering it, or trying to master it and get a product there, which is very, very representative. And this particular story that we are saying, this particular thing, the film story is where we've talked about one particular thing, is really not something that you can get in without research. And I think all the 4 filmmakers have researched a lot on this. It took me 6 months to write it. And I'm sure it took each one of us the same kind of, at the back of our heads, this thing has been in society. So it's not something that we just went in there and did it for these 2 months. It's much, much beyond that. So I think for each one of us, I don't know if we really were in our comfort zone.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't.
For me, when they wanted to do originally it was supposed to be an anthology on love stories. So then I told that, see, this is what we've been doing usually. All the mainstream films, we are doing it. Let us try to do something else, which I might not be able to do on a film that is primarily meant for theatrical viewing. So then some suggestion came up, and then we finalized on this. And then I went in for this, and then everybody else also accepted to do it. That way, we all accepted to do it, knowing that definitely this cannot be in our comfort zones. For me, writing stories around a family, within a family, was challenging. Of course, there are certain areas that I thought I could explore better, but writing within a family and what happens on a minuscule level within the family, the equations, the dynamics within the family between the sisters and all of that, those were very, I was very unsure of it. So those things that was something I was very, very unsure of until I showed the film to a few of my friends. I was very, very unsure of. So all of us have gone into a very unknown space, doing some amount of work to get it
No, Vetri, you
done.
said something interesting there. You said that something that might not, like love stories have been done on screens. Let's go and do something that might not be possible to do on screen. Why do you think that this particular thing might not work as well on screen?
No, see, it might work, but then the theatrical release setup today has a protagonist. It should either be a 25 to 35, 40-year-old man or a 25 to 40-year-old woman. It cannot, I mean, it does not let people have what to say, in terms of content, it is very restricted. Here, there is a lot of space for content. All the films have very unlikely protagonists. Maybe mine is less unlikely, but all the other stories have very unlikely protagonists, which you don't get to see on a mainstream film. That's what I meant by that.
And even before it gets to the theaters, you need a producer to fund a film like this.
Yes, again, yeah. So to start with, you're done. Yeah. Nobody's going to say, okay, I'm happy to fund this film.
Yeah, right. And to think that Vetri is saying something like this, and Vetri bends it so much. He's so off center, his films, and yet are commercial. And for him to say that this is a liberating platform is something.
Yeah, and I guess also from Gautam's point of view, or Sudha, Gautam, for instance, is so identified, I would say boxed in, despite the fact that, you've done stuff, is like, even when a Nadanisi Nayagal or something comes out, everybody says, this is not a Gautham Menon kind of film. So this kind of helps you maybe get out there without the pressures of people expecting a Gautham Menon film.
Yeah, so that was what I meant when I said...
Gautam, I'll interrupt you here. Yeah, Gautam, sure. I'll interrupt you here. Actually, Gautam has done very aggressive films when he started. Okay. See, Kaka Kaka, Vetiyadu Vilayadu, the kind of violence and the kind of... It is like, you wouldn't expect a youngster who grew watching Vinay Tandi Varvaya to go back and see a Kaka Kaka or Vetiyadu Vilayadu and say, okay, this is the Gautam who has made those films I associate this man to be a very romantic filmmaker. He has, of course, Kaka Kaka is a beautiful love story, but still he has that, strong, aggressive, violent streak as a filmmaker as well. That needs to be taken into account also.
Right. No, I know that. I'm saying that there is an audience perception that of how people are boxed into certain genres or whatever. So that's what I was coming from.
So if it was under the love story genre, I would have just woken up and said, let's go to shoot, But it was this. It was Sin Stories, and it had to have the elements that Vetri was talking about. So it's not, I know Sudha meant well and all that, but it's not being lazy about it. It's not that, you make a love story, but you're being lazy about it. I think to make a love story is the most difficult to get people to be.
No, I didn't say, I said,
I know you meant well.
When you don't research.
Yeah, I know you meant well. I'm not finding fault at all. But it can go into those, zones. I'm saying when you say comfort, the other way is being lazy about it. But so for me, it is also about, would I watch something like this? So when you have so much of content, at the end of the day, what would I pick to watch? Would I want to watch something that'll just make me laugh and, Friends type material, or would I want to watch something intense? So this makes for really intense viewing. So when it makes for intense viewing, now you have to go back to write something intense. So I took a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was very sure just to make an impact and to be sensational, I didn't want to toe the line of, doing something that I don't conform to or I don't believe in, Not that what Vetri made is what he believes in, but I know he makes that really well. Vetri's film will leave you, in one space for like 3 to 4 days for sure, which is what, after seeing his film also, we all, Vignesh and I, we spoke about it. Vetri himself said that, that the cast and crew of the film itself wasn't able to get back to normalcy after like even 3 days because of the particular scene that, the way he's directed it and all that stuff. And Sudha's film also, it's beautiful, but it's disturbing. So I'm saying this is intense viewing. And so you have to be ready for intense viewing and you have to be ready for intense making and writing and all that, which I wasn't ready for initially, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity. And so I think we all just, dove in, sort of thing. Yeah.
And Vignesh, are you trying? Yes, please. Yeah. We would love to listen to you.
So talking about the comfort zone and stuff like that. See, for me, this topic itself was a little intense, and it's something which I've only watched in movies, like, not something which I've been exposed to, maybe, like, nothing that I see, or from my heart, it's not going to come out like. So, and as a filmmaker also, I've done films which are heavy in humor quotient. So to handle such a sensitive topic, and my nature of making films with little humor and light-hearted comedies and stuff like that to blend, I was a little scared, like, what if I make a very amateur version of a very sensitive and a serious topic. So that was one very challenging task for me to, like, take care of while writing also. And I wanted, but at the same time, I also wanted it to be in my zone, like my zone in the sense, having a little bit of dark humor and things like that. If something like that is possible, like, treating a sensitive topic like this with a tinge of humor, can something be written in that way, was what my challenge was, the challenge which I had for my own self. And I ended up trying this out, experimenting it out, and I've done something like that only. So, which I'll know only after it gets released, and how people like seeing the
I
feedback.
think
only.
we've all made films under Paava Kathaigal, but Vignesh has created a genre of his own with this. Sudha and Vetri will agree with me. And we joked about it also, that once Netflix puts out the thumbnail, the blurb, or whatever, they'll all watch Vignesh's film only first. After like some 100 viewings, only they'll all watch our films for sure.
His thumbnail is only going to bring people into this series.
I'm scared of that thumbnail because that will be viewed even by my family, and
Sorry, Vicky.
No, it's there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong in that thumbnail, Vignesh. It's beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Vetri, but looking at the movies you've made, one gets a sense that you're very much into sprawling sagas. It's multiple characters, multiple story threads, timelines. So did you at any point in this process, and as you yourself said, it is like a person who writes a novel or a novella going to do a short story. So for you as an artist, what was the biggest struggle? Like, did you really have to fight to minimize your vision?
No, what I thought was, when I started, when this idea struck to me, it was about two people talking. And it becomes a very, very serious and very precious moment that they're talking in. And I just wanted to extend those few minutes. It could be 1 minute or 2 minutes what they are talking, but I wanted to extend those 2 minutes into 30 minutes. Then I had so much time. That's how I started working. So I started working into the nuances of those few minutes, what this person is thinking and what that person is thinking, and what the words they are saying. The words they are saying that not necessarily means what is going on in their minds. So those things, I thought it is safer for me to explore, elaborate on these few minutes. When I started working on it, then I had to add a few of the backstory for these few minutes. That way I was able to contain it, or else definitely, as you say, it's a challenging thing.
So I was going to ask Vignesh this question, but I think he's already answered it. I was going to ask, I mean, one of the things that characterize your films is that particular sense of humor of yours. And I was like, how are you managing to weave that into this? But I guess you've answered that and we'll wait for it. But at any point, did the four of you decide that I'm going to make my own movie without telling the others? Or did you all share screenplays and ideas and drafts and things like that?
None of us knew what the other person was going to do.
Okay.
But then we all rallied in, like, one point, what the concept is going to be. And we didn't know who's going to act in which film, nothing like that.
Okay.
So it was pretty much like, individual, and everything was original without any influence from each other. And so I think that is also, it's actually good that it happened that way, so that we didn't have influence. Like, we didn't want, okay, this is the story. In fact, my storyline and Vetri sir's storyline are little on, like, on similar lines. But then the way his film is, it's more strong, and it's more of the Vetri sir, like what we would expect from him. So it's like that. And for me, when I saw his film also, I saw his film, and after I watched his film, then we had a funny take. Like Sir also said, you've also taken the same story, but you've taken it in a different way and things like that. So that was also very nice to see. Like, it happened because we didn't have that initial discussion, or that influence wasn't there, and it all stayed apart from each other.
Right.
I knew what everybody was making because I tried to get my film written by one of them. So I asked Vicky for a script. I asked Vetri for a script and all that. And they were all trying to set up something for me. But then they all got so busy with their work. So at some point I decided, okay, let me just write this and take it forward. So, yeah.
From what Vignesh said, I'm going to do to Vetri what Vetri did to Gautham, which is basically to say that we are bracketing Vetri as this intense kind of filmmaker. But, he's also made this Dhanush dancing on the streets, which is easily one of the most iconic love moments of the 2000s, if I may, because that's so incredibly fresh a take on romance. So
yeah, and Pulla Devan also had a lovely, great love story.
Yeah.
I don't know why the man
Always.
he made a nice love story and just gotten away with it,
Dhanush always says, sir, you call me tonight and say, Dhanush, I'm starting the shooting tomorrow. It's a love story. I will come attend the shoot the next morning, sir. That's what he says. He used to call me, sir, you are a love director, sir. He used to say that.
I was curious. There is a movement now about Dalit telling Dalit stories, right? Did that play into your head at all as you created the films that you did? Did it add any extra responsibility or sense of mindfulness about the messaging that you're putting out there?
See, all these films are not about Dalit representations or any of those things. But then when you are dealing a film, the kind of film that I have made, that is definitely there at the back of your mind. You keep, because see, it is definitely not, it is not going to be the way you tell your story from the way I tell your story. You have all the rights to tell your story. You have the rights to criticize your life and the life of other people involved in your life. And I have to refrain from doing a certain things because it is your life. That way, while working on this particular area, like for me, Asuran also had that element in it. And when I'm working on it, I get sometimes I get conscious, I get nervous. I have friends, filmmakers to whom I reach out to. I share the film, show the film, discuss with them, and then try to balance it out. But it is definitely not. You will never be able to make. What you make will never be a Dalit film unless it is from that world. The people talking for themselves, representing themselves, is different from others doing those films. Definitely, that has been in my mind.
Sudha, do you have something to say on that?
No, I agree with him. There is this whole huge debate of the Savarna Hindu. It's going to be with us for a long, long time, for as long as we make films. And when we do talk about a different sector that we don't belong to, we have to be doubly conscious and research it out and talk it out. And I've done sensitivity tests because for my film especially required that with various sectors of society, some minorities. So you have to do that and go on and make films about them, about everybody. You can't restrict yourself to, I can't say I'm not going to make films about men because I'm not a man. So it's as simple as that.
No, it's not narrated from that point of view at all, and we didn't want to go down that route. It just falls under the category of what probably Vetri was talking about. I mean, there is these are intense stories. It's about families. It's about maybe at some point they want to disown their own kith and kin, and then it's handled within that space itself. It doesn't go beyond that. I don't think any of us wanted to narrate that kind of a story here. And Sudha, you did that, is it? I mean, I really wanted to ask you that.
I did.
Yeah, okay.
So I can't talk about it, but I had people representing those communities on my sets.
Okay.
While I was writing it, they read the script after I finished. They watched the films after I shot it. They were there on the dubbing because it's set in Coimbatore. So the language for that I needed people. Then I needed people from those two communities. So I had all of them. I have it all in the making videos and everything. I had to do it. I felt responsible. I didn't know if I was representing them correctly. Though I was reading a lot of literature, I was reading a lot of stuff from the net and everything. I was reading books, but I didn't know if I was being accurate, if I was hurting the sensibilities somewhere. So I did a sensitivity test, yes.
And what I did was, I just wanted it to be completely out of here. Like, I didn't want to have any, what is it, the regular kind of how we pray and all those things. I just made like a fantasy kind of a world where I'm not signifying anyone in particular. Like the way they talk, the kind of the idol worship or something like that. I had some abstract things and abstract ways so that it didn't show anyone, or it didn't have any particular community or anything. I just kept it like that, to be on a very safe side.
No, I asked Sudha that also because I think it's interesting that all of us went through our own introspection of our own films, because I know Vetri was also at some point, I won't say bothered, but he really looked at his film extensively. And I think towards the end, he added a few elements and all that stuff. So I really respected, Vetri for what he did. He actually said, hold on, my film is not ready as yet, way past, submission date. And he did a few things to his film, which I know once you see the film, probably we'll talk about all that. But I really liked what Vetri did in that regard,
I'm curious, when four directors work together, are there, you said that you did see each other's scripts, you had no idea what the other person was making at any point through the process. And of course, you're all contemporaries and obviously admirers of each other's work. But was there a moment of insecurity that what if mine is the worst in the slot?
Always, from day zero. I was like very insecure. I was like, oh my God, Vetri is going to make the rawest and Vicky is going to make the funniest and Gautham is just going to just do something that is going to be so commercial and so brilliant and so beautiful. I'm a Gautham fan. I just love his films. So I was thinking all those things. But then you go ahead and you just make it in a vacuum. Otherwise, you're dead.
But I think, everybody also helped at every point, from the time the films were made. We have a group chat and we connected and all that. So that sort of quelled that feeling to a large extent. And there was a lot of, I have to say, there was a lot of camaraderie between the four of us, I think. So at some point that kicked in.
Yeah, I think it is not, we did not feel that way because we share a nice relationship. Like it's nice to discuss the ideas and films. Except for one or two stuff that happened outside the films. Other than that, everything was fine, and it is good. So there is.
I think we took some suggestions also. Vetri saw my film and said something really important. I made that change. He suggested a few things to Vignesh also.
And I also made to keep it like so-called politically correct or whatever, but those insights weren't like I'm not that experienced in or I'm not exposed to this much of intensity, and I've not read a lot of things. I'm basically still in the amateur standards, and I've been a fan of all of they've been my mentors. Like I've worked with Gautham sir, I've worked with Sudha ma'am. I've been grown up watching Vetri sir's films, and it's been like that. So taking their inputs and checking if things are right, because like whatever insecurity you said, I had the maximum of it. Like so I didn't want to make a I didn't want to cut a sorry face, like saying, okay, my film is also coming with your film. I'm really sorry, I've not made something up to your mark. So that kind of that scare was there. But then the way they made me feel like throughout this process, right from the beginning, the way they gave their hands, they gave me that kind of a space, and they didn't make me feel like the level of confidence which I needed to make such a thing was given from these three, how they spoke to me, or throughout this span of time. I really enjoyed working with them or talking to them. I had Vetri sir was talking to me 30-40 minutes one day after watching the film. So those were the moments which I've never expected to happen in my life. So I'm very happy that this happened through.
And even when you were not there, we've talked about your film, Vicky and I.
Somehow I'm getting the feeling that Vignesh's film is going to be the thing that everybody looks forward to right now, because they're like, what has he done? Just kind of. So
he was also a senior. He shot his film first, ahead of every one of us. So I called him on the day of my shoot. That was at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. Where was Vicky? No chance. Then I called Vetri. Vetri, what format? Vetri. And Gautham called from his shoot saying, how many frames? This is the kind of interaction we had before the shoot. After everything was over, then I think we started talking a lot more.
Yeah, that's because Vignesh is always like, tomorrow, if this love story or whatever is going to be announced, he already has a script ready for that. So he's ready to put it.
Gautam, this should be your screenplay for this. When we were talking about the sequel to Vinay Tanti, you said there's 4 people together coming together.
Right.
This is that kind of a story here.
Yeah, trust me, it's all under that inspiration. It all comes there. I'm saying, trust me.
So finally, do all you guys see this as a one-off experiment, or you see yourself doing more of this stuff?
With the same group, I think so. I think we are going to do something again, I think. But otherwise, I don't know. I'm off anthologies for a bit, I think.
Okay. Yeah, you have one coming on, Gautam, and you have one coming on another platform as well.
Rival platform, yeah.
I'm open if the same team is there. Don't want to do everything. And only if I need to tell a story, I feel, honestly. But if this group is there, then I'd want to tell a story, actually. In fact, I'm thinking, why not direct each other's stories, actually?
That would be lovely.
So this time around, I think we should pick up from each one's story and take it like a relay kind of a thing. That was a very exciting idea. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
We should do something like that, definitely.
That story that you said, Vetri, let's do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, you even decided who will do which part.
Yeah.
Vetri, when you have this thing, when you have this, like you said, it took about, 6 months? I mean, how long did it take for each of you to write versus direct in this?
Write 6 months, shoot 6 days.
Write 6 months, shoot 6 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And post some, God knows how many months because of COVID.
Okay, because I'm just trying to get an understanding of compared to a feature. Would you say this is as intensive as?
No. For me, see, I shot it for 10 days. I shot it for 10. No, I think 8 to 9 days. So I shot for 8 or 9 days, and then what I did was, I didn't do much of writing. Once I got an idea of it, then I start. Maybe I could say the incubation period was around 2 months.
Okay.
Then shot for 8 days or 9 days. Okay, let's keep 10 days. 10 days, I shot for 10 days. And then edit took me along because there were certain sequences which did not let you work for long in it. It just bothers you. So you just work for half an hour, then leave it, go, come back. So that way, it took around 2 months or 3 months. Other things fell in place because of the lockdown. We got delayed a bit.
And I wrote it in August and I shot it in September. So it was like totally 30 days to make it from the scratch to write, and just because I was supposed to shoot a film in November, like last year. So I wanted to finish this as soon as possible. So I just finished it in September. But then I didn't edit it. I just kept it like that. But then again, we had so much of time to edit thanks to this lovely thing called COVID. So had so much of time to do post, and then I wanted Anirudh to do music for this. It was a very small film. We normally I bank so much on music and songs also. Initially, I thought, okay, let me do something without the help of songs. But eventually, I ended up going to him, and I needed to have a song in between. Again, going back to the same basics that gives me that confidence that okay, this product is complete. So calculating that, like, whatever time we got has only helped us to improve the final output. Like, if we had given the same film like 4 or 5 months back, it would have been a little different. At least my film would have been a little different. But now the output, whatever has been given, is actually like close to whatever, like, we feel okay, satisfactory level. So the time and all has helped on.
That's wonderful. Listen, I cannot wait to see it. And thank you so much. And I think you should really take off that idea you have just discussed, where Vetri has said that something from his and somebody else takes that little thread. And then Bharadwaj and I will take credit for being there as you formed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
All the best. All the best.
Thank
Bye.
you.